Hello, everyone. Another exciting day with another exciting guest. We have Dr. Diana Barbu with her book, The Ultimate Guide to College Financial Aid. And I saw her book, I bought it and read it. It's a beautiful book and lots of great information for whoever wants to save some money for college, right? How you can have the better financial decision for your college. Because there are lots of students still don't know how to apply, how to get support. And this is actually US based. But still, it gives you a lot of shortcuts to understand how you can actually apply to your own country. Thank you for being here, Dr. Diana Barbo. I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor to talk to you today about finance and college and everything else that goes with it. Yeah, it's been a journey.
Yes. All right. First, tell me about yourself. What is your degree? And how did you become interested into this ultimate guide to college financial aid?
Oh, so I can take you a little bit way back. So in 2008, I was graduating with my master's from Rutgers University up in New Jersey. And then as I was looking for a job, the recession hit. So there were no jobs anywhere. And prior to that, I used to teach computer science in a prior life, I guess. So the first job that I got in 2009 eventually was at the university here. We moved to Tallahassee, so I'm in Florida. So I got a job at the university, and then I ended up in academic affairs. And I absolutely loved it. So I started working in academic affairs, and then I was like, well, I really love the field. I love what I'm doing. The focus was on student success, and it always is, right? So all colleges and universities want their students to succeed and want themselves, right, to thrive and in the long run and kind of provide opportunities for more students and kind of really make a difference in their communities and contribute to make an economic impact. So then I decided that maybe is the time to actually add to my education. My undergrad was in computer science and math, so I'm a dork, I guess.
Me too.
Oh,
I have software engineer degree, yes.
and I decided to go for a PhD, and Florida State University has a great program, obviously, right? A great program, a great PhD in higher education. So I enrolled. Obviously, I applied; they accepted me, and then I enrolled. And all this while, I was basically working full time in eventually in a regulatory agency that basically oversees all the public universities in Florida. And so working full time, going to school full time, because who needs a life, right? So there you go. So I graduated, I defended about 4.5 years later. So I graduated 5 years later. And then I started kind of thinking about all the research and thinking about all the resources and all the exposure that I had through my work and through my job to the kind of problems that students and parents may encounter. And the other side of it is that all of this information is sometimes put in some kind of a lingo that's not necessarily easy to understand and not necessarily accessible. And yeah, if you have enough time and resources, right, you can learn everything. Like, that's my theory of life. The only problem is that you never have enough time and resources. You actually need somebody to actually translate stuff for you so that you can use it. You can go at it and be like, oh, this means this means that. So this is how I can actually make sense of this and use it, as opposed to kind of going to the internet, right, with a question like, how many of us felt like a beached whale, right? So basically you're going online and you're like, oh, I just have this quick question. What's a Pell Grant and what are the specifications that go with it? And you kind of go on and on and on and search and go to this website, that website, and then something pops up, and then it's like super glitzy and all that. So that you eventually focus on the glitzy thing, and 3 hours go by, and by the time the 3 hours go by, you're like, wait a minute, what did I try to accomplish? What was I trying to kind of find out? I don't know, but I'm exhausted. So basically, what I was thinking about is coming up with this kind of guide, to kind of put all the information together all in one place, that if somebody actually decides to allocate it 3 to 5 hours, they know everything there is to know about financial aid, or everything there is to know about college admissions, or different other aspects of college, so that they know, I'm going to purchase this thing, I'm going to make this investment, give it 3 to 5 hours of my time. I learn everything there is to know, make sense of it, and then I can move on with my life. And then the other side of it is, right, um, the blindsided, right? What you don't know can really hurt you. So, but if somebody kind of takes the time to actually walk you through everything there is to know, then there's no surprises down the road. So you don't have to really worry about, am I missing something? Am I not seeing something? Will that something that I don't know really kind of hurt me in the long run? So this is kind of how I came up with the whole concept of
Beautiful.
the guide.
So, Diana, in Canada, as permanent resident and citizen, we have some financial aid if we want to get our degree. So, and it's not really difficult to find out. But what I wanted to know when I was going to apply for PhD, then I see there are lots of scholarships that you are really surprised. You don't know which one to get, what to do. And it's not just for college, different degrees like master, higher, other bachelor and PhD. Is that the same in US? And did you bring all the universities in US in one book?
So the focus for this book is on undergraduate education in the US.
Uh,
So basically, the reason why that is that I guess in the US, the difference in between undergrad and grad, right, masters and PhDs, it's very, very clearly defined. And in order to apply for a scholarship at the undergrad level, it's a whole different process from applying for a scholarship at the grad level. And the other side of it is that the undergrad level kind of scholarships can come from three different sources, right? So can come from the federal government, that you kind of file the FAFSA, and then the feds kind of process. It's really the financial aid officers that process your FAFSA and everything else, and see if you're eligible for that. The second source of scholarships and grants really are the states. So basically, they are the other entity that could provide students with extra money. And then the third source of scholarships and grants are the universities. Now, the thing is that the federal government is the only entity that can actually provide the loans to students, as well as the private sector. But the private sector, it's a whole different story, like completely different story. But basically, the financial aid officers, when somebody submits the FAFSA, are kind of running that FAFSA through these three kind of potential funders and kind of identifying how much money you would be eligible for.
mhm. So, um, so just talk about your journey to authorship. It's going to be interesting for my audience because a lot of them wish to publish their book and they don't know how to start. First, tell me, how long did it take you publish your book? Is that your first one? And it was in a very good shape. I see.
Thank you. You're very kind.
Yes, yes. I mean, you already got the new release and best new release and best bestseller, yeah?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Striving towards that.
Yeah, because you have a very narrow niche. So
Yes.
you need to market in very narrow market, and is not, yeah, like, I think any book needs to find its audience.
Yep.
Doesn't matter how narrow is this,
Mhm.
because there are lots of college students desperately need your book.
Let's hope you're right.
So how long did it take from the moment you started thinking about writing a book and then publish it? For me, took 2 years.
Oh, so from the moment I was contemplating of this even being an option, it's been about 5 years. So even contemplating that maybe, right, I should start writing and kind of strengthen my writing and kind of clarify it and, have a structure. I mean, a structure that it's easy to read, understand, digest, and kind of, usable. Um, so it took a long time from that perspective, and there was then I wanted to actually start writing, so I set up a blog, and those were my first kind of writing attempts per se. That blog doesn't exist anymore, but I still have some posts on collegetalk.us now. Um, and just kind of getting my feet wet. Oh, and the other side of it is that writing the book, it's, I guess, the culmination, but there was a lot of effort behind it. And I happen to be very particular about how I like to write. So I'm very much a paper and kind of pen type of writer. So I filled many of these right? Just with ideas and things to, but really, the opportunity to actually delve into this 100% came with COVID. Like, this is when the opportunity presented itself, and I started kind of exploring the ideas more and more. And I was kind of thinking about how do I put this together so that it's easy to use, actionable, people can actually take it, be like, I understand this, here's how I compare colleges, here's how I determine my out of pocket cost. And I started writing to realize that I'm going to end up with a 500-page kind of thing, because I
Wow.
started writing about the whole college admission process, like the entire thing. And then I realized that nobody's going to buy a 500-page book, or at least not from me being in the beginning of the process and kind of learning my way around and everything else. And that was when I was like, okay, if there's a way to actually time this right and kind of provide people with the information that they need specifically, how about I actually break the book into a couple of booklets, or smaller books basically, and kind of get familiar with the process, get it out there in front of people, and kind of feel my way through it. And that's how the Ultimate Guide to Financial Aid came about. The whole process, once I kind of figured out how to put it together, took about 6 months.
Yes.
So just
Yeah.
about that.
Mine
But
too. Yeah.
yeah.
It took me some time. Just I had this in my mind that I have to write the book. Then bit and pieces when I was at work. I wrote in lunchtime. And then when I really decided to publish it, then it didn't take too long. So do you think for your next book, how long does it take? Is it 6 months again?
Oh, I don't think so. I gotta say that the cover and everything else that goes with it, and the formatting, were a bear. Like, those took about 2 months easy. For the next one, I kind of have pieces of it written. So my plan is to actually launch the prequel to the current one in August, right? So
Oh, beautiful.
yeah, so we'll see how that's going to play out, but that's kind of the goal right now. But it's a process, and I'm learning a lot. And it's like you said, right? You need to find your audience for the book, and you need to find your niche properly and identify them properly. And I think I did. I just didn't really have a chance to actually spend enough time on that.
I
So
understand.
the
I'm
issue.
with you. So let's get back in few seconds. We have a break for a few seconds. We come back. Please subscribe to Ponto Calhoun Transition channel and order my book Rules of Change for the Better. Tune up your mood and transform your life to reach your biggest dreams. Okay, we are back.
All right.
All right. Do you have any recommendation for new authors who postpone their plan for a long time?
Well, I was one of them. um, what I found, and I don't have here, what I found that worked for me was obviously having time to actually allocate to it. When I was working and writing, so basically when I had the regular 9 to 5, 10-hour work days, there was no way I could do it. But once things kind of loosened up a little bit, things were much easier. What I found is that you start and you write whatever, and you just write, and it doesn't matter what. And then eventually, because you can edit stuff after you put it on the page, but you cannot edit nothing really. So I would just write, and at some point, like you love writing and all that, but at some point it's like, really, I have to do it again and again and again. And I bought myself an hourglass for 15 minutes, like honestly, and I don't have it in this office. It's anyway. So I would make myself write for 15 minutes. And at the end of the 15 minutes, if I was feeling like this is enough, I don't want to do it anymore, I would allow myself to be okay with it and not write and be fine to move on to whatever is next. Well, I discovered in the process that my biggest problem was starting, not doing the thing, but starting. And those 15 minutes were enough time to actually get me started, get me excited, kind of get me into the right mindset and everything else to move forward. And once I did 15 minutes, of course, I would go for an hour or two, you know. And then as the process kind of progressed, I was starting to give myself a number of hours that I would need to write every day. And I would actually plan to write for about 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm not writing at that rhythm right now. And I would just kind of break those into 30 minutes things. And every 30 minutes, I would take a break and stretch or whatever, and then kind of go back to another 30 minutes and so on and so forth.
You know,
But
you can't force to write, isn't it? You
right,
have to you have to be in a mood because then you don't have a good quality.
yeah, the mood, yeah, I guess it didn't really work for me. For me, it was more like put words on paper and think about. And in the very beginning, it was just not think about anything, just put them on paper, just kind of I think I read this thing somewhere, like you're basically shoveling sand in a sandbox, and that's what worked for me. And then kind of thinking through it and rearranging it, that made me kind of help polish the whole thing. And it was like a lot of iterative process of let's polish some more and some more and some more. And then at some point, I basically sat my husband by my side and I'm like, here's how I'm planning to actually uh, put everything together so that it flows. What do you think? So we would kind of talk through things in terms of flow. So that helped really a lot.
Yeah, it's
But
good to have someone beside you.
yeah, yeah. But I think everybody kind of has their rhythm and whatever works for them. And sometimes there were times when I really had to kind of make myself do it. And it
Yeah,
is what it
mine
is.
was a different story. Like, I made my like for my second book. It was interesting. Third book actually. My third book, Naturally Conceived. I had 22 contributors there, And because I had, the interesting thing was it was not chapter based. You
Uh,
read my book, right?
yes, yes, I did. I
It was
loved it.
topic based. I already wrote the book. Long before publishing the book, I wrote it. But the problem was I had contributors and I had to somehow insert those ideas inside the book. So that's why so many things changed. But I knew from the beginning what I'm going to write.
Oh,
The structure was already there. So that really helped me. And one of the problem with writing is people don't know how many chapters they want to have and what they want to write inside.
yeah,
That was the problem. But I always have a structure. Like for my rules of change for my second book, uh, I knew exactly how many, like overall, how many rules I have. And
okay.
then in revised edition, I had to cut some rules because it was big.
Yeah,
And for my next book, exactly from the beginning, I knew how many chapters again. So it's so good to know and don't try to add anything. So limit yourself to what you're gonna write. That's the problem because I had an accountability partner. We talked to each other on each other's book, and every day she said, "I'm gonna add this chapter. This chapter is not good. I'm gonna go back." So, no, you have to limit yourself. Finish it, please.
yeah,
You try
yes,
to finish it. But that's great because your first book is like that. Your
yeah,
first book, because you want to be perfect and you go for perfection. So you're never going to be published because you think you're not enough. But the problem is, as soon as you write, and don't later you can correct it when you write it. And sometimes I use the speech recognition software. I
yeah.
don't know if you use it or not.
It doesn't work for me. As
Yeah,
in, it
it
doesn't
worked
work
for
mentally for me.
it worked. Sometimes I really didn't want to write, so I just talk to the computer. Even if I have accent, it was a bit difficult, but there are some softwares that actually practice your accent, so they
Exactly.
learn what you say. And that
You
was,
train them.
sometimes I wrote a lot, like few, I tell you, 10 pages, just talking. And
Mhm.
sometimes for a week, I didn't do anything.
That's, yeah, I
And
can.
as you said, writing a book in one side, and then another side is finding editor, cover. And I do my covers right now myself because I learned how to do it. And because we have a computer background, it's easier to do technical stuff for me.
Yeah,
But before, I had to recognize what is the format, where can I do it. So yeah, too many things to learn, but as soon as you publish it for the first time, second, third time, it's so easy. And it's a really great excitement to see your published book.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
see reviews come in and, hope that they're going to be good. And
Yeah. Yeah. So this is your website,
yes.
collegetouch.us. What do you have?
Yes. So basically, one of the most important things, and one of the things that the book is kind of centered around, it's a college comparison worksheet. So I have the college comparison worksheet on my website. It's free for everybody to use. And basically, what happens with financial aid letters is that different schools, right, universities, colleges, have different ways of kind of arranging the information. And some schools provide some of the information, but other schools don't provide some of the information. And calculating your out-of-pocket cost, how much it's actually going to cost you for 1 year, it tends to be a little bit more difficult because there's two pieces to it, right? So there's the total cost of attendance, and some schools provide that information and some schools don't. So basically, the book explains if your school doesn't provide this, here's where you go, here's where you kind of here's how you find the total cost of attendance. And then the second side of the thing is, right, the kind of money that you're getting from the feds, from the state, and from the institution. So now, once you have the cost of attendance and you have the grants and the scholarships that you're getting from feds, state, and the institution, now you can actually determine your out-of-pocket cost. But what happens is that not all schools arrange the information in the same way, and some of them leave information out. And not necessarily intentionally. It might be, it's just like, I really think that schools are like humans, right? We have our own way of doing certain things, and that's how we deal with it. And schools have their own systems set up a certain way. So, so basically the college comparison worksheet basically forces you to actually plug in all the information from the financial aid letter into this spreadsheet. It calculates your out-of-pocket automatically, and it does it for as many schools as you want to kind of plug in, right?
That's amazing.
And then eventually you actually can compare college A and college B once you have all the information in, specifically because many financial aid information, financial aid letters are going to provide you with totals. So this is your total after financial aid. And sometimes that financial aid can include loans, right? Because there's no standardization, no like set, you can include this or that or whatever. But the spreadsheet basically shows you, now that you have cost of attendance and you kind of take out the grants and scholarships out of the cost of attendance, this is how much each one of these schools are going to cost. So now, if you want a cost comparison, excuse me, this is how you should do it.
That's good. You actually save a lot of time with
Yeah, and
calculation
it's gonna
and
show you
everything.
whatever
Yes,
it's missing from the financial aid letter. So I mean, I included in the book 4 financial aid letters, sample financial aid letters that the same student provided. So basically, here's one student that filed the FAFSA, the same kind of financial information, and out of those 4 schools, one of them actually didn't provide the student with the federal grant and loan, and it's not clear why. And basically, once that kind of information would be added to the financial aid letter, the total cost of the out-of-pocket cost would actually go down. So that spreadsheet helps you really identify. I don't have this information, so I need it, and the book kind of shows you how to get it. And here's what other information the school didn't provide you, and you should ask for if you're really, really interested in attending.
beautiful. Thank you so much
Sure,
for
absolutely.
being here. I really enjoyed it, and hopefully, students who really wish to save some money and compare their different college, um, compare the financial aids, they can choose what they want. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much.